This book knocked my socks off. Hello everyone, welcome back to A Fictional Escapist. My name is Kris, and today's video is the Carved Amidst the Shadows book review. This is book 1 in the Brands of Telgear, with book 2 just around the corner, and I loved it. So you're in for a gush review. Before we jump into the review, make sure you check in the description box down below for links to my social media and Discord, should you want to come along for the ride. Carved Amidst the Shadows was this dark, character-driven political fantasy that had my attention from start to end. The Order rules all. For centuries, they have monitored the 5 kingdoms, each headed by a marked family. All was under control until the greed of the leaders got out of hand, separating the nations by deadly, impenetrable barriers. The Order seeks to maintain control over the lands, but it is slipping from their grasp. As a new generation of powerful players start to question the ways of the past, and a carved uprising threatens the powers that be, a new war may be on the horizon. Cayenne, survivor of a household massacre, must learn to flourish on her own. This once spoiled royal will stop at nothing to bring the Order down, and make others question just why their need for power is so important. Finding herself a carved, her sheer determination and grit will see her become one of the most fearless and important fighters the world didn't know it needed. Andreas is marked, and he has started to ask too many questions about why entire families must be slaughtered at the sign of a flawed. His inquisitive mind will get him into trouble as he learns what it means to be in the line for the throne, something he never thought he wanted. Will he bow under the pressure of the current rule, or learn to forge his own path and challenge the beliefs of the past? Then we have Rao. He is a centuries-old steward who is surviving on the waters of the well. He is stuck in his ways and wishing for this mission to be his last. He will serve the Order for the rest of his days without any means of escape. This brooding and powerful magic user will uphold the ancient laws to the detriment of any who stand in his way. Or could a new addition to his troop change his mind forever? The stories of these 3 POVs dance around each other throughout the years, providing a really thought-provoking and very entertaining read. I was so impressed with this debut fantasy, and I'll hold it up to the camera so you get a glimpse of the cover there. It balances this complicated, dense political tension with entertaining character interactions and life lessons thrown out along the way. My favorite aspect of this story would have to be the structure and the way that it is told, and how these POVs interact at different times throughout the book. I also absolutely loved the amount of character growth that each of our characters went through, and they basically are completely different people from who we're introduced to, but in the best possible way. They became so much more well-rounded and went through an immense amount of growth than the people that we were originally introduced to at the start of the book. And I also really liked the magic in this book used by the stewards. I thought it was horrifying, but really cool. Our POVs start interacting with one another fairly quickly, which is different from other multi-POV tales that I have read previously. We have Cayenne and Andreas, who have lived fairly similar lives and actually interacted as children. Immediately, they are linked in the reader's mind, and we get to understand the origins of their relationship and the dynamic that they once had. Once this has been established, we are introduced to Rao, the steward who is being sent out to gather information about a recent flawed sighting in the kingdom. Something close to all of their homes, whether they know it or not. As the story progresses, each of our POVs goes on a journey, growing and questioning their livelihoods. Through the chapters where they are separated, we get to learn the more individualistic stances on their livelihoods and their political standpoints and their religious beliefs, actively making this world bigger through the characters themselves rather than through a traveling aspect, which I thought was really cool. I personally love a traveling aspect, but I thought this was really well done as well. The traveling aspect was interesting because travel in this book is limited to people who are marked, because the restrictions on the borders will literally turn them into dust if they cross into another land. It was a really clever way to make the characters a priority with this storytelling without losing sight of the world around them. Towards the end of the book, the POVs again come together and the pace picks up, and so do the stakes. This way of layering the characters' stories made me so invested in their interactions from the very beginning, instead of taking some time to sort of understand where each story was going to come into play. This structure and the way that the story was told made way for the individual stories to undergo these massive character arcs within 550 pages. Each of our characters experiences several important growth moments which are never overlooked as we go through the tale. The rules of this world are harsh, and no one is safe from the order, even when they believe that they are. I was so impressed with how these characters felt so different to those that we were introduced to at the beginning of the book. We have spoiled royals one day and fearless fighters the next. It was an absolute pleasure to experience a story told in this way. I won't tell you much more about this aspect just for fear of spoilers, but just know that if you are a character-driven reader who does love a full world and some development, you are going to love this book. The last thing I do want to mention before we close off this rapid review is the magic of the Drin. Rao, our steward, is a powerful magic user. Being over 500 years old, he's had plenty of practice. He can sense magic in others and use their life force against them to create some cool and horrifying effects. We couple this with this particular character having an extremely short fuse, and we see some cool things being done with his and others' Drin. This character does things like turning people into literal dust, and also creating chokeholds through a number of walls where he can just sense this magic user or magic ability through chambers and chambers, and having that power over someone to sense that and then choke them was really cool. But we also see a gentler side of the magic. He also maintains the life tree of his former wife and child, so it gave this character, like, I didn't like him, but I also was like, oh, whenever he talked about his wife and his former child and the interactions with another character, which I won't mention just for spoilers. So if you like a little bit of a dark horse who is super uncompromising on their beliefs, then you're probably going to enjoy Rao. I know that people like me out there like the dark character and find them quite interesting. What that says about us, I will let you decide. But if you like the type of character, Rao's going to be one that you'll enjoy. This was an excellent read, and if I'm being honest, it's probably my top read so far this year in terms of pure entertainment value. I love the way that the story was told. I wanted to pick it straight back up again, which just doesn't happen to me at all. I cannot wait for book 2, which releases on my birthday this year, and I definitely reached out to MT Fontaine and begged for an arc, which hopefully I'll be getting at the beginning of August, so I can read it prior to it coming out and give another review. A huge thank you to MT Fontaine for taking the chance on a small reviewer and sending me a copy of Carved Amidst the Shadows, because it was awesome. Have you read this one? Are you going to pick it up? Have I sold it to you? I feel like I gush about this so often since reading it, so I hope people have gone and picked it up. If you like the content, give it one of those. If you want to see more of it, click subscribe at your will. I'll catch you in the next video. Ciao.